So I've been asked several times about how I come up with my cost of capital, my discount rate for use in my valuation projects. So I use BVR's cost of capital professional. And when I give that answer, folks are asking me, well, what does that mean? So let's talk about it. First off, here's me. And second off, valuation 101. So basic value is income divided by some form of a risk rate. Now the key is to make sure that the income stream that we're looking at, it has to match the same risk profile of the risk rate that is determined. So the build-up method, it comes up with a risk rate that's based on public company data. And then publicly traded companies issued dividends on some of their stocks, or they have some way of paying dividends. They don't all pay dividends, but they can. Privately held businesses typically don't pay dividends, but if they were going to, they would have what's called the dividend paying capacity of the business, or the net cash flow. That is the income stream that one needs to use when you're incorporating the build-up method in your valuation approach. So if you want to learn how to calculate net cash flow, that's a whole different video. So the build-up method consists of a sum of 4 different risk rates that just add them up together. The risk-free rate, an equity risk premium, a size premium, and then a company-specific risk premium. Now there's some discussion about size premiums, and that's outside the scope of this video. We'll talk about that some more some later date. Those first 3 rates, you can look them up. They're available on charts and graphs and sources. BVR's cost of capital professional is one way of getting that information. The 4th rate, the specific company risk premium, is up to the individual appraiser to both determine and support that conclusion. So that's another topic, and we can talk about in more detail some other day. So the cost of capital professional, you can access their information on their subscription at that link. If you can't click on that here, you probably can't. I'll put this link in the notes below in the comment section. But they charge $295 for a single user, and then $100 for everybody else in your office that you want to use your subscription. So it's not that difficult to get hold of. So I want to explore the tool. So I'm going to log into my personal subscription and give you a basic tour of how their system works. Please note that I pay them for the use of their data. They don't pay me to endorse it or advertise it. So the various options that are out there, I just like this one the best. Cost of capital professional. Scroll down so we can see this. So the way the tool works is you can type in your company name. It's optional. You don't have to do this. ABC Company. Why not? What is your effective date? Your valuation date. You can choose, any date that's historical. Today, I'm recording this on November 7th. I guess let's pick that day. Why not? Select earliest year or custom. The options here are earliest year is the first time they start selecting tracking data from the publicly traded companies. Or if you don't want to incorporate data from the Great Recession, the Great Depression, or any of those other normal cycles of economic life, you can change the date. In my personal opinion, I don't care. I'll just grab the earliest year. Returns reference. So depending on your valuation date, you get 2 options here. So if I change this from today, let's go back to December 31, 2021. Now, I've got to pick earliest year again. 2021 and 2020. You have 2 options. Well, what does that mean is always the question I get. Well, the easiest response is basically, they used to publish the book for this CRSP data, study of stock prices, in a book that come out in around March every year. The data was as of year end, but you wouldn't get the book for 3 or 4 months. So do you want to use last year's book or this year's book? This is kind of the way I look at it. So I'm going to use this year's book. You can change the mean from arithmetic to geometric if you want. And once you have the returns reference selected, these menus down here become available. So RFR stands for risk-free rate, which is that rate we first talked about in the slides a little bit ago, you can choose from the two options, the 10-year maturity or the 20-year maturity as of that date, your effective date, remember? Or if you want a custom date, you can do that. You can type it in, whatever you want to do. You know, you can add whatever notes you want here. However, in my personal opinion, I like to grab the 20-year maturity because that's what I've always used. I've always used the 20-year date. So equity risk premium, you can grab the CRSP, the 10-year or the 20-year. Or Dr. Damodaran's got his implied equity risk premium stuff down here. If you want to know more information about that, you should look into it and definitely do it. BVR gives you the option to use that information, or the custom information is there. Size premium, this is where you can go through all the deciles. You know, largest company, mid-size in millions, 36 billion, on down to the smallest, 10 million. So things like that. So breaking them down from the S&P 500 to the beta adjusted. So publicly traded companies have a beta. You can calculate the beta and you can use it. So I praise mostly much smaller businesses, Main Street size companies. So I will grab that 10 smallest, right? You can look at the rest of it. The 11.98 down here, I think this is representative of the old 10Z rate, maybe? So the 10Z rate that used to be available in the book is representative of those companies that are in danger of being delisted, going bankrupt, things that may or may not be applicable to the subject business that's being appraised. So I just grab the 10 decile here typically. And I go to the IRP is for industry beta, industry risk selection. If you want to use this stuff, you can. But in the build-up method for the small privately held companies, I don't believe a beta makes sense because you can't calculate a beta for a privately held business. So I don't use it. Instead, I go straight to the cost of equity tab. I make sure I hit this drop-down menu to hit the beta adjusted for the size premium. Then you're on systematic risk premium. This is your specific company risk premium. You can type in whatever you want because you, as the appraiser, have to determine and support your determination of what this rate is. You can add any notes you want to type in. You can add them in the various sections here. There's more information down here you can use, and you can get into the actual CAPM, capital asset pricing model, if you want to. You can totally incorporate a beta if you choose. But this is where I stop typically. There's a WACC tab. You can use the discount rate that you come up with for the equity and then build from there into an invested capital discount rate using the WACC, should you choose. There's sources there. Or in the summary tab, this is kind of cool. All this information, all these notes, you can copy this and paste it directly into your report if you like. So if you go back to risk-free rate, I'm going to grab here and type some notes here. Go back to the summary tab. You can see those notes will show up. So I use this chart to grab the first three rates, the risk-free rate, the equity risk premium, and the size premium, and that's what I use in my report. The specific company risk premium, I'm going to determine it my own self. I'll use that in my own format where I like to have it there. But this tool is very useful for all those other types of options. So if you have any other questions, give me a call, send me an email. Here's my contact information. I'm curious to find out if I did this video without the green screen behind me, without my face moving around. See if you guys like this better, or if you'd rather have me talking and making movements with my hands on screen or not. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Bye.